This week, we're continuing to follow sugarcane's journey from the farm to your table. Neil Melancon is taking us to the Louisiana Sugar Refinery in Gramercy, Louisiana.
It's an historic place that's been refining sugar for more than a century. As you'll see, it's very up to date and very important in Louisiana's economy.
Last week, we went to the Lasuka mill in St. Martinville, where cane from the field gets turned into raw sugar. But where does that sugar go? For Lasuka and 7 other mills, they came up with an answer in 2010. The Louisiana Sugar Refinery, or LSR, was established on the grounds of the historic colonial sugar district in Gramercy. That history is important to LSR CEO Larry Fauchot, who is a third-generation employee here and sees the history of this place as part of his own.
So if you go to the market and you enter a grocery store, anything that has sugar in it, we probably supply them in some way or fashion. We hit every state in the mainland of the U.S.
As we saw at Lasuka, trucks are a vital part of bringing sugar to and from the mills. The same is true here, where more than 300 trucks per day are bringing sugar in or product out. Much like those mills, it's first stored in warehouses like these. This one was built in the 70s and has a port access to the Mississippi. In addition, a second warehouse has been built and a third is already under construction. Fauchot said he sees cane as a growth industry.
That growth is going to continue as farmers see that this is viable. They are bullish about producing more cane, therefore it allows the state also to have a viable agricultural product.
Gary Sellers is a retired plant manager here at LSR. He still gives tours as he still knows the process backwards and forwards. He says while there are many steps in this process, the heart of the facility are these 40-foot boilers that crystallize the raw product into something pretty sweet.
And those crystallizers will crystallize the sugar, purifying it and creating a crystal that will drop into centrifuges, spin out the liquor, and then those solid crystals will be dried and sent to the silos, which we're standing on top of the silo platform right now.
Part of the reason this modern facility was built was to be efficient, comply with all food safety standards, and be productive for future needs. However, it's also keeping up with the steady demand for locally sourced sustainable products. Fauchot says while they're aware of the latest trends, it's something that's been part of the sugarcane industry since before this historic site was founded.
So in today's world, people want to know, where's my food coming from? How's it grown? What's the standards being used? Are you impacting the land in a way that it's harmful? We can truly say this crop's been at it for over 200 years. We're looking at the next 200 years of being able to do it in the same places. And we've been certified showing that we truly are a sustainable crop.
One important food safety measure comes towards the end of the process here. This may look like an airport, but these X-rays and metal detectors are used for quality assurance. These 25-pound bags are headed for Sam's nationwide, and Fauchot says they'll get there without anything added from the refining process.
We take the material, we melt it, we then remove all the impurities that may have come in from the farm, from the plant itself. At that point, you still may have some other materials, such as the color bodies that have to be removed. You then can come here and see it being cleaned up. But when it's done and you pick that package up, it says one thing: sugar.
What Fauchot said he's most proud of, though, is that this facility uses 100% Louisiana sugarcane. From the growers to the mills to the workers at LSR, this is Louisiana grown and proud.
We're a very local operated facility. We have about 400 employees, and about 80% of them live within 10 miles of the facility. Some of them actually do still walk to work or ride a bike in. And that's very critical for the success and growth of a small community that's been here as long as Gramercy has.
Now, as I talked about in the piece, LSR is on a historic site. The company sits now on the site of the old Colonial Sugars facility, and many of those old buildings you saw are now involved in power generation for the new plant. In fact, the new facility is not only a state historic site, but is on the National Register of Historic Places. The site dates back to the late 1800s when they chose the place with easy access to the river and railheads to ship sugar all across the state and nation. Of course, the state historic site is also important, highlighting the contributions of Dr. George Meade, who co-authored a book and is widely considered to be the father of modern sugarcane production. In addition, Dr. Meade, along with his wife and Mrs. Tamara Cooper Moore, founded the first black school in St. James Parish. Their commitment to education and improving their community has had a lasting impact through a legacy that keeps on giving. Now, in a couple of weeks, I'm going back to the facility to show you more about this important historical place, including a look inside the Blue House, the home of Dr. George Meade, who gave so much to sugarcane and this community. Guys, this was such a fun shoot, and this is, I think, the first time in the history of our show we've actually gone to a sugar refinery. I know you covered the opening, but this is the first time we've seen that process through. And of course, it's a little more industrial, I guess, as a process, but it still resembles a lot of what we saw at the mills and that kind of thing. And I didn't say it in the piece, but that facility processes more than 2 billion, with a B, pounds of sugar a year.
That's a pretty big number.
That's a lot. It's mountains of sugar. You've seen those mountains of sugar in the mills. Well, there are multiple warehouses of mountains like that they process all year long.
Oh, wow. See, what I loved about this story, probably more than any other thing, is how jazzed you've been about each part. Every time you've gone out and you've been like, I found this out this time. It's an historic place. You fell in love with the story from the get-go.
I don't want to give too many spoilers for the next piece, which I'm going to do on the historic stuff, but there are some famous figures who have gone through there, and I just had no idea that this was such an important place in the formation of sugar, and you'll see in a couple weeks.
I'm going to start calling you Sweet, Sweet Neil. You've had 500
Nobody's ever
hookers.
called me that.
Well, sweet, sweet Neil, thank you very much.